Hi everyone, I am here with a true story of where miracles happen. True stories of heavenly encounters. This one is called Vital Signs. And the little verse up above it says it's by Emily Dickinson. Emily Dickinson, a famous poet. Okay, she writes, I never spoke with God, nor visited in heaven, yet certain am I of the spot, as if the chart were given. Okay, so now let's get into the story here. When Emily Witchman was 7 months old, she had a stroke. 7 months old. Although the episode had never been repeated, Emily was still delicate, and her mother, Marilyn, watched her carefully for signs of illness or distress. So did the members of the Witchman's church community, St. Paul Lutheran in West Point, Nebraska. Emily had many adoptive grandparents, Marlene says. Everyone was concerned about her. One September, Marlene, her husband, and Emily, then 5, decided to accompany Marlene's parents to Seattle to visit relatives. On the way home, they stayed overnight at a campsite in Yellowstone National Park. Okay. These pages. They stayed at Yellowstone National Park. The following morning, Emily seemed lethargic, and after they got on the road, she quickly fell asleep again. The family was driving through an empty stretch of Wyoming when Emily awoke abruptly. Mommy, she said, I'm sick. Marlene looked at her daughter. Emily's eyes seemed out of focus, shifting to the right. That moment, later, she started vomiting. I would say that's something in the brain, because I seen a show about that here not too long ago, where if your eyes, where your eyes do funny things like that, it means like a brain tumor or something to do with the brain. Anyway, they had just driven over some road oil where fumes nauseating Emily. Marlene's father stopped the RV and everyone walked her up and down. She was conscious and apparently aware, but Marlene, a teacher, had had epileptic students, and she felt a chill of apprehension. Emily's symptoms seemed ominously similar. Dad, she said, we've got to get Emily to a hospital right away. The nearest town, Rock Springs, was more than 60 miles away. Madeline's father sped off and everyone began to pray. 20 miles, 30, the scenery flew by, but not quickly enough. Emily seemed to be fading. Everyone kept praying, but as they approached Rock Springs, they could see that the town below was far larger than they had anticipated. There would certainly be a hospital here, but how would they find it? This was before the age of cell phones. Previous moments would be lost as they searched. Emily was unconscious now. Lord, Marilyn whispered as she held her daughter tightly, we need to find a doctor fast. Just as they approached an interstate highway, everyone saw a blue marker with a white H on it, a hospital sign. Thank God. Soon they saw another. At least 4 signs formed a reassuring blue and white trail, which Marlene's father followed on and off the interstate right to the hospital. An emergency room physician diagnosed Emily's condition as a mild epileptic seizure, did a CAT scan, and quickly stabilized her with anticonvulsant drugs. Only afterward, as Emily rested safely in her room, did Marilyn feel the full impact of the crisis. If it weren't for those hospital signs, she told the physician, we might still be driving around. The doctor looked at her curiously. What signs? The ones lining our route, Marilyn explained. They were literally a lifesaver. We couldn't have found the hospital without them. The doctor was perplexed. I live about 8 miles out on that road. I travel it every day here, he told her. I've never seen any hospital signs. Marilyn didn't know what to think. All 4 adults in the van had seen the markers, but her father and her husband were now at a gas station they had passed on the way and having the RV checked out. When they returned, she asked them. The men returned late because they had gotten lost. We were counting on the blue and white signs to guide us, her father said, but they were gone now. Still perplexed, Marlene phoned the Rock Springs Chamber of Commerce the next day, but an official could not provide no explanation. There have never been any hospital signs there, he said. When the Witchmans returned home, Emily's doctor put her on anticonvulsant drugs. By the time she was in the 5th grade, which she probably would have been about 10 by then, the seizures had completely stopped. Later, Marlene agreed to a test that would measure the seizure activity still going on in Emily's brain. The result was no seizure activity, says Marlene. The EEG showed that her brain had created alternate routes and had bypassed the area where the seizures were occurring. As Emily's perplexed doctor explained all this, he emphasized that such a thing normally doesn't happen. Emily just smiled at him and gently put her hand on his. It's just another miracle, she told him. One of these days, you'll start believing in the power of God and his miracles. I do already. I'll never forget the look on that doctor's face as this little girl witnessed to him, says Marlene today. 10 years old, 5 or 10 at the time. If she can do it, we can too, right? A little kid can do it. That's why Jesus said you have to become like children to enter heaven, because children are so innocent. All they know is love till they're taught different. As for Rock Springs, a few years after the Witchmans had been there, the town leaders erected hospital signs. No doubt it's holy ground. So God put them signs there so they could find a way to the hospital. He led them to the hospital where they needed to go. That is a great story. I hope you guys enjoyed it.